Hello, welcome to Why Psychology Matters to College Students. Today we'll be focusing on mindset. Let's begin by placing mindset into the context of social psychology. Social psychologists are very interested in the topic of attitude, which they might define as a positive or negative evaluation of people or objects or events or activities or ideas. What you'll notice here is that the definition is set up as if it were a dichotomy, positive or negative. We can think of that also as a binary. And you can, in fact, measure attitudes using some kind of a binary scale. They might respond positively or negatively, or you can put positive and negative as endpoints along a continuum. And that's frequently how social psychologists would, in fact, measure attitudes. Similarly, we can take a dichotomy and use that to begin our understanding of mindset. Typically, when we do this, we can talk about a fixed mindset on one extreme and a growth mindset on the other extreme and consider a continuum between these two extremes. We can also come up with a couple of synonyms for fixed mindset and growth mindset, and those would be, respectively, entity mindset as a synonym for the fixed mindset, or an incremental mindset as a synonym for the growth mindset. And what we'll do in today's conversation is we'll relate mindset to the important topic of intelligence. When a college student is going to different classes, they recognize really quite early on that college can be intellectually challenging. So students sometimes become a bit preoccupied with the view of their own intelligence. So we'll start now by relating the mindset continuum from fixed to growth to how students view their own intelligence. Here's an example of how a student with a fixed mindset might view their own intelligence. This student might say something like, intelligence is set by genes and early environment. It cannot be changed with practice or effort. Hence, it's fixed. This is where we get the name fixed mindset from. We can contrast this with the other end of the continuum. Intelligence is highly malleable and depends on persistence and effort. This is a growth mindset. Now, what's interesting to me as a psychology professor is that I hear students all the time describe their own intelligence that way, even implicitly. They might say something like this, I'm not good at foreign languages. That's a fixed statement. Or they might say something like, I'm a language person, not a math person. And other students might make statements more along these lines. My math or language skills will improve as I practice. And it could be math or language, but it could be art, or it can be music. Some people say, I'm good at music, and that's a fixed statement, or they'll say something like, I can't carry a tune in a bucket. Okay, that's also a fixed statement. Others will see that their skills can improve with practice. Now, what's interesting about this is that depending on the attitude that we have, relatively fixed or relatively growth, we tend to have very different responses to the failures that we're going to encounter in college. And all college students encounter failures in different ways. If you have a relatively fixed mindset, you'll perceive failure as revealing fundamentally unchangeable limitations in yourself. Okay? By contrast, if you have a growth mindset, failures are seen as pointing directly toward where learning and growth are possible. So given this difference, you can imagine that we have very different responses to challenging tasks. When students, for example, are picking their courses for the next semester, they might be very concerned, or not, about how difficult that task is. What's the probability that that course or that task is going to generate failure for me? So, a person with a fixed mindset might state something like the following. Challenging tasks should be avoided because they reveal my limitations, which can't be changed. On the other extreme, we have this kind of a view. Challenging tasks are desirable because they generate failures that inform me how to improve. Basically, challenges make me smarter. Okay? So you can imagine then that a challenging task is very anxiety-producing for people who hold this kind of mindset, and much less so for people who hold a growth mindset over on this extreme. If you'd like to read more about fixed and growth mindsets, a wiki is available on that, and I would encourage you to read that. I also want to share just a little bit of the research on mindset, some of the work in particular that's been done by the psychologist Carol Dweck. She's been a leader on mindset, and some of her early work addressed issues of intelligence, as we've just been discussing. But I think you should also be intrigued by the fact that Carol Dweck's work on mindset has been expanded beyond intelligence. In her 2012 paper, Mindsets in Human Nature, Promoting Change in the Middle East, the schoolyard, the racial divide, and willpower, she expands the idea of fixed mindsets and growth mindsets to not just intelligence, but a broad variety of applications that are very, very different from each other. And the reason why this is exciting is that all scientists, not just psychological scientists, are interested in the idea of generalizability, the extent to which a finding applies across diverse settings or populations. Here, in this 2012 article, we can see that Carol Dweck is taking her earlier work on mindset and how it pertains to intelligence to now a broad diversity of settings and populations, looking at issues in the Middle East and issues on the schoolyard, issues relating to racial divides and willpower. So this generalizability is an important concept in any science, certainly psychological science, but you would see generalizability valued by physicists and astronomers and geoscientists and chemists and biologists, just like you see it valued in psychologists. Okay, hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.